Yes, Eve. Yes, good morning. I'm fine. Yes. Yes, I'm trying to configure her phone. Yes. Yeah, 5 minutes. Actually, when we're logging in the core program. Yeah.
Good morning. Munyandamana ndeni nzo meeting money guy. I'm in a meeting here on Zoom. I don't want noise again. Show the meeting over there. Let's go. Wale Nathan Katuja. Hello.
Already now to start communication from a station at UBC and the others are ready to
Meeting there.
So if then I'll request that we officially start and we get going. Is that okay with us, Michael? Good. Are you ready? Good. A very good morning, and once again to all of you, thank you so much for making it here this morning. My name is Jagena Semakula Zikusoka. And all our viewers on our UBC TV and those who are online on Zoom. I am very sure that the Zoom ID and the passcode was shared with those who are on Zoom watching us from wherever you are. We're here in Kampala on this date, Heroes Day in Uganda, and we are very grateful to God that later on this day, we're also going to witness and be part of the Heroes Day celebrations at Colorado Independence Grounds. Now, the theme of Heroes Day celebrations says remembering the great men and women who put the nation first in pursuing freedom for our motherland, Uganda. And I just think that this also coincides with this particular day here where we are for this e-dialogue on the role of civic education in inspiring a new spirit of citizenship. Now, I take the opportunity to welcome all of you, the panelists who are here and those who are online. We will steadily get to you. At this particular moment, I will just request that we get going, and I will request that the UN resident coordinator, Mrs. Rosa Malango, will give us the opening remarks. And when she sets the ball rolling, then I will get to all your things. You're very welcome, Madam Resident Coordinator, and I'll request that you come in now to give us the opening remarks of our day here today, and of course, the other things will ensue. You're very welcome, and good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations to all Ugandans as we celebrate Heroes Day. I am delighted to welcome and host this e-dialogue session on the
role of civic education in inspiring a new spirit of citizenship in Uganda.
We are aware that today Uganda commemorates the Heroes Day. This is a day that has been set aside to celebrate the sons and daughters of this land who have sacrificed and fought gallantly for a better Uganda. It is also a day that provides an opportunity to stop and reflect on our actions towards a better Uganda. While the generation situations to elevate ourselves to share in the table of heroes. In this regard, I wish to acknowledge all patriotic Ugandans, regardless of their ethnicity, religion, gender, or age, who are law-abiding, exercising their civic responsibilities, and embracing the oneness of being Uganda. In this regard, I also want to take my hat off and appreciation for all the health workers at the front lines for their dedication towards combating the spread of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. I thank all those from civil society, from the private sector, from security, who are helping to promote the adherence to the standard operating procedures for COVID-19 prevention. I also want to recognize all the brothers and sisters serving in peacekeeping missions across Africa. Thank you for your sacrifice and your contribution to the I want to recognize the sports.
I'm not going to accept this thing.
Among others,
but if they wanted us, they should have gone and bought good computers, because the money they bought these computers was not worth.
And gentlemen,
if they had given us good computers, we wouldn't be complaining. They gave us junk, and they know it.
Fundamental aspect of democracy. They're not only a tool
There's an email
for representation, leadership.
Let me say it. Let me say an email.
In this regard,
because I have said it, every person needs a computer. All of us.
We believe that with and privileges, and give us an opportunity to design a more inclusive, democratic, homegrown process.
Is that the person?
In this regard, I wish to echo a famous law professor who said as follows: constitutional democracy,
even if it's
serious trouble, if
be honest.
Do not have a degree of application.
Be honest. Let's be honest in our life.
I think
we need to engage in converse
the problem started with
as a people.
Yeah.
One to organize the man. Fighting to see where
and the promotion of the civic education for this country. The process that the United Nations and Uganda has worked with the government and people of Uganda since 2017. As we celebrate Heroes Day, His Excellency the President today will be launching the National Civic campaign titled Uganda, This is Home. This is a brainchild of the National Initiative for Civic Education in Uganda, NICE Uganda, supported by the United Nations Family. Ladies and gentlemen, NICE Uganda was launched on March 12, 2019 on the margins of the African Now Summit. But before that launch, I'm delighted to share with you, we did consultations in country, including a benchmarking visit to Ghana. I invite you to go to our website to read a report about the lessons from Ghana, which led to NICE Uganda here. While we are promoting today this campaign, I also wanted to use the opportunity to say two things on the consultative process. For 6 months, we consulted high and wide across Uganda. We consulted religious leaders, members of cultural institutions, youth associations. We consulted people in the marketplace. We consulted professionals, members of government, and parliament. But we never stopped consulting. We used the past 2 years to better understand what were the issues of interest in Uganda, what were the topics of concern, and who our stakeholders would be. To be able to make sure that we reach here today, the United Nations provided a temporary home to NICE Uganda, and we supported the volunteers who worked on it until this date. So ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for us to hand over to Uganda a platform which is homegrown and home-led and home-operated. What we are launching today is a Ugandan space for Ugandans to define their identity, for Ugandans to define the content of civic education and good citizenship. So to all Ugandans, I invite you, religious leaders, cultural leaders, celebrities, to join and help sustain these local spaces. In particular, I want to thank Bishop Orombi for his guidance during my recent consultations in Hulu. So as I conclude, I implore each and every one of us to love this beautiful home called Uganda, to continue to work towards making it better. I also take this opportunity to affirm the United Nations commitment towards the people of Uganda by working with you towards the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals and the NDP 3. The only way to achieve this is together. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, UN President Coordinator, Madam Rosa Malango. We really thank you so much because it set the ball rolling for us, and it is very important. Now, to all our viewers and those following this, the campaign here is launching This Is Home. And I think it just sounds very good for Russell to know that it is actually home, and the Pan-African spirit needs of the Ubuntu. To me, is actually the catchphrase of this particular dialogue that we are getting into this morning. I'll take the opportunity now to welcome and to ask the chairman of NICE, Mr. Joseph Pilibonma. Mr. Joseph Pilibonma, the chairman of the National Initiative for Civic Education in Uganda. I also knew that he was still the vice chairman of the Electoral Commission. I love his experience, and of course, yeah, we ask you, Mr. Pilibonma, to come in and give your remarks, and having heard from the UN President Coordinator. You're welcome.
Thank you, moderator. Our host, Your Excellency Rose Marango, the President Coordinator of the UN in Uganda, this speaker, who is online, Mrs. Nkrumah, the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education in Uganda, the current representative of the UN Women, Maxine Oinato, panelists, the press, ladies and gentlemen, those present here and those online. We take this opportunity to welcome you, both those who are physically present and those following us via technology. First, we wish to congratulate Ugandans for getting to this day when we remember the heroes of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Initiative for Civic Education in Uganda, abbreviated as NICE Uganda, is the first structured collaboration between the government of Uganda and non-government actors. NICE's purpose is to provide a space, coordinate and promote value-based civic education, support dialogue around the national character, and promote positive mindset change for Ugandans at home and abroad. Also facilitate the establishment of a robust framework that enables civic education at all levels. Monitor and ensure quality control for civic education activities in the country. Support civic education campaign for the benefit of public good. In arriving at these purposes, we have consulted a cross-section of stakeholders, as the Excellency have explained, and we invite all the other stakeholders to join us in this mission. Today, we are happy to convene the first of a series of civic education e-dialogue that are intended to create space for dialogue on issues that affect our country. More significantly, this dialogue coincides with the launch of a novel mindset change campaign called Uganda is Our Home. Uganda. This campaign will leverage the resources and capacities available around to us to promote value-based participation in our political and socio-economic development. This is the first of its kind. As nice Uganda, we hope that the campaign will rally Ugandans to think and act as one, regardless of their tribe, religion, social status, or even color. Robust civic education, we will be able, with the robust civic education, we will be able to collectively and harmoniously figure out solutions to any challenges at hand and that may arise in the future. Civic education is broader than political information dissemination. It's about educating people about how to live responsibly and beautifully in the social, economic, and political lives. For instance, we are launching a protracted civic education campaign amid this COVID-19 epidemic. Nice Uganda, for that purpose, stands by to support the government in the communication around COVID-19 SOPs. We wish to extend our gratitude to the government of Uganda for putting civic education back on the national agenda and the national priority. In the same respect, we thank the UN for the catalyst support offered to Nice Uganda for the past 2 years. We look forward to similar support from all other stakeholders, both in public and private sectors. So our panelists today, we thank you for honoring our invitation and we continue to count on you as we roll out the civic education program. We look forward to the deliberations and proposals on how we can leverage civic education to a new spirit of Uganda's citizenship. Thank you for joining our country.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Just right there. We really thank you. This campaign, of course, is to rally system to celebrate our diversity. Now, Uganda, just like many African countries, we are very rich in these diversities, and getting to civic education and also brushing these diversities for who we are, I think it is where to go. It comes at a time when we are in a decade of implementing the SDGs, and of course also at a time when we get to the implementation of our third national development plan, which also focuses so much on mindset change, and I think it is really very important. I'll take the opportunity now to request Ndugu Jonah Jackson, commonly known as JJ Barikuya, the Assistant Commissioner from the Ministry of National, from the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, and he is the Assistant Commissioner for National Guidance. He's representing the PS Mr. Bajire. I'm very happy to see you, Ndugu JJ Barikuya. Karibu, and let's get your remarks.
Asante sana, moderator. Thank you very much for the meeting here. The UN President Coordinator and also in charge of security. I hope I'm not mistaken there. And also who is facilitating this initiative, the chairman, Mr. Liboma, who is also championing this initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. This initiative comes in timely when we are committed to building a knowledgeable society driven by information technology, and national ideology. When you talk about national ideology, it is where all of us must focus. And that's one of the commitments of the Ministry of External National Guidance. And indeed, when NICE comes to put a building block in that direction, which is the energy well directed and which is most welcome for the transformation of our country. As the all comrades, you may understand that Uganda decided and determined its destiny in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda in the year of 1995, where it recorded on its history, and today we are told that we were recording all those who participated in that, and put commitment to changing that bad history of this country and define the core values that should guide the process of changing the history. And the same way, the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda put forward the directive principles of state policy, where every actor, both state and national actors, are supposed to follow in implementing any activity here towards giving good direction to our country. And that way, automatically, both state and national actors have had to reach a relationship. So when we are here as government and the national actors, I think it's in the fulfillment of our Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. I also want to underscore that in the same Constitution, we defined the direction of governance. When we look at Article 8A, we talked about that Uganda shall be governed based on national interests and the common good. Therefore, when we're to unpack the national interest and common good, that's where now we come up and also define our national ideology. And good enough, apart from that, the Constitution, the leadership of this country moved ahead to provide a national harmonized vision, which was passed by in the year 2010, which now projected the Uganda we want. To mention that a few, which is talking about transforming our society from a backward society to a modern and prosperous country. And we gave ourselves a time frame of 30 years. That's now the vision 2040. And to that one, we must make sure that now there are avenues in the space that we are talking about, which are going to break down all those elements that are going to support the process of achieving our national vision. And indeed, NICE, when it comes up with this civic education initiative, which is homegrown and home-based, it is the way to go. And from there, as you're aware, as the moderator mentioned, that now we are now addressing the National Development Plan 3. That comes from National Development Plan number 1, which was passed in 2010, then number 2, which you have just concluded, and now plan number 3, as a vehicle to fulfill our aspirations and desires. And when we talk about shaping the narrative of the young generation, the initiative, I think now we are all committed towards that. And indeed, it's not a civic education that is going to unpack all those concepts which you talked about, let's say Pan-Africanism, of Ubuntu, the concept of patriotism to guide the transformation process, the process of democracy, the process of socio-economic transformation. For every citizen of Uganda to understand that and walk at the top must be able to get the knowledge so that now we develop a knowledgeable society which will drive towards that, regardless of the diversities. And it is true, society lives in diversity, but what holds society together is the common vision, the common value system, the common understanding, and the common commitment. And indeed, Uganda, we are committed to transforming our society. So as His Excellency has always guided, he said, for us now, it's our duty to make sure that we mobilize all the citizens in this country to understand these concepts. When we talk about Pan-Africanism, what is it that we should be able to drive at, regardless of your ideological diversity, so that you do things in relation to what we believe as a country. When we are talking about patriotism, patriotism is a very wonderful concept which has directed many societies to develop. So you as a Ugandan, regardless of your diversity, what are you doing in your political, economic, and class diversity? As the director mentioned it, that now we have just gone through the political process. Yes, where there is a political process, people are striving to struggle for the political space, there must be contradictions that arise. But how do we manage those contradictions without antagonizing the national interest? So that's our duty. And as we do that, one must be cognizant that we are talking about 75% youth. So how we package them and direct the narrative of causing them to appreciate their country and walk in the talk of commitment to transform so that they can use their intellectual energy and physical energy without negating the National Plan 3, which talk about mindset, and focusing on the parish-led development initiative, the parish model, because that's where we all belong. So for us to fit there, indeed, civic education is very critical. And when we link up with other partners, that's the direction to go. And we welcome that. And as a ministry, we are committed to working together with anybody, with all society organizations, with anybody, both within and without, who puts extra energy and resources towards achieving our desirable goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ndogo. Now it's really very important that it's getting sweeter, I can say. I attended a conference in Munyonyo in 2019 when they launched the NICE initiative, and to me, yes, I knew and I said, yes, this is the way to go. But just like many starts, we didn't hear anything since then until now. Thank God that we are here today. Now, when we talk about civic education, you'll notice that we've just gone through an electoral process, and much of what we were talking about was about civic education, blaming the citizenry for not being certain things rightly because there's no, or because there was no civic education. And I think this comes at a very timely moment. Now, you notice that one of the problems that we have on the continent of Africa, especially with the youth, either an identity, people reach and everything. The spirit of an Africanism from the founding fathers, the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the late Pixley Shaka Seme, the founding father of the ANC, and several others. Of course, it's so a different Africa that I think we need to cultivate, especially when we talk about mindset change and now inspiring the spirit of citizenship. I'll take the opportunity now to welcome to this conversation Nugu Crispin Kahero, the head of Secretariat at the National Initiative on Civic Education. You notice that for many years, the other name of Mr. Crispin Kahero was actually said. Now, I think Crispin Kahero will move from being known as Sedu now to NICE in Uganda. Karibu Nugu Crispin.
Thank you very much, moderator. Our hosts, Her Excellency Rosa Marango, the resident coordinator of the UN in Uganda, chairperson of the National Initiative for Civic Education, Mr. Joseph Bibono. Our guest speaker this morning, Ms. Josephine Bruma, the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education in Ghana, who has been online for the last 2 hours, despite the ungodly hour in Accra right now. The Commissioner, JJ Bakalikwira, representing the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, the country representative of the UN Women in Uganda, Dr. Maxine, panelists present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, both here physically and those online. We have a big audience online. First of all, I need to congratulate Ugandans on this Heroes Day. But second, and equally important, I'm very excited about today's dialogue. It is the first of its kind. It's a historical one. I think let me point out right from the onset that we are dealing with a subject of critical importance, given the context that we are in. Civic education, as it is now, is a national emergency. We needed it yesterday, but more importantly, we need it today more than ever before. We are at a place where, as a country, we are challenged by the low response rate towards the COVID-19 standard operating procedures, testing, and vaccination. At one level, people are not cautious about how deadly the pandemic
we're dealing with is. At the other level, we are faced with the occasional trust issues between the people and our government. Civic education, in my view, is and will be critical in mobilizing Ugandans towards an urgent sense of national consciousness that promotes informed and active participation in both public and private life. Ladies and gentlemen, Uganda right now is hungry for active, informed, and responsible citizens. Citizens who are willing and able to take responsibility for themselves. Citizens who are willing and able to take responsibility for their communities. Citizens who are able to see and quickly seize the opportunities around them. Citizens who are driven by a sense of passion rather than quick money. Civic education and the Uganda This Is Home, Ndimna Uganda campaign that will be launching today will inspire Ugandans to be and do just exactly that. Briefly, the campaign that we're going to launch later today will promote a sense of duty to country. It will raise awareness about public and private development programs and opportunities, inspire Ugandans to be confident and proud about their identity, and ultimately positively affect changes of beliefs, attitudes, values, and behavior of citizens. This way, ladies and gentlemen, we will be able to effectively deal with the vices such as the creeping ethnocentrism, sectarianism, intolerance, anger, hate-based violence, and corruption. Our civic education messages will attack these vices one by one and will inspire a greater sense of accountability. For instance, some of the messages will teach people that when you steal, you've stolen from your own home. And ultimately, the corrosive effect will be borne by your family and relatives. Other messages will tell the truth about our history, our values, our culture, society, and the environment that we live in. It is our intention to inspire social cohesion. But at the end of the day, we are one. The campaign will also stimulate young people to appreciate the benefits of hard work, sacrifice, discipline, and self-confidence. This way, we will be able to build a generation of passionate and patriotic go-getters who are able to identify and fit in the opportunities around them. Ultimately, the leaders and the led, the young and the old, should be able to honestly ask themselves, what can they do for their country? And not, what can the country do for them? The country has already given us what we need. The people must do their part. Ladies and gentlemen, our civic education campaign is broader than participation in politics. It touches on how we can be active players in our socioeconomic well-being too. To deliver on this campaign, we combine both a multimedia messaging approach alongside a vigorous community-based intervention approach to drive the message home that this is home. This is about changing behavior and mindsets. We will rely on you, Ugandans, on us, Ugandans, on we, Ugandans, to be the champions, influencers, and ambassadors for the interventions that we envisage, both at home and abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, I will at this moment invite our partner, Alcan Act, to briefly take the country through the key concepts that will inform our information, education, and communication mindset change campaign from now onward. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's welcome Alcan Act Media.
Good morning. I'll get right into it. I'm called William Akari from Alcan Act. Very happy to get this chance to take the nation through the thinking behind the campaign. This is home. Speaker after speaker today told you about how the country is coming off a very intense election period. and what came with it. In coming up to the messaging for this campaign, we have had that very much in mind. And we had in mind that Uganda is a very strong politically. It has people that have very strong political opinions, which in most cases, like after the elections, led to a very polarized situation. We intended to tackle that and to remind people that outside and after the politics, there is still life to live, and there is still a country, still a home to go to. And the fact that we are different, we have differences, does not mean that we are not a country anymore. Now, when we are coming up with communication for such, we want to take the population slowly, and we use the basic that we take them from the known to the unknown. The known is that, yes, Uganda is a country that is made up of very different people. It's a country that is made up of different tribes. People belong to different religions. We're not homogeneous. So we take them from that, from the known, and take them slowly and steadily to where we want them to think. That's why it's first and foremost a mindset campaign. We need to change the mindset of people from focusing on the differences to focusing on what is common to us all. The campaign, being a mindset campaign, is supposed to remind Ugandans of what is good and what makes us all the same. That is why the emphasis is on reminding everybody that this is your home. Uganda is your home. And your home is not just a house that you stay in, not a house that you sleep in. Your home is your neighbor. Your home is your community. Your home is the grocery where you go to buy your groceries. Your home is actually the kafunda you go to relax after an intense day of work. Your home is the people you work with, and your home is much, much bigger than your immediate family members. Now, what we want to achieve with this is if people begin, they have always known this, but because of the paralysis, they start looking at people as their fellow people as opponents, as people from another political party, as people from another tribe, as people from another religious sect. So once we hammer this information, this communication into people's brains every other time, it has to be a very consistent message over a period of time that this is your home, and your home is made up of much, much more than the house you sleep in. Once people begin looking at each other as members of the same community, as members of the same home, then they will start changing their minds about how they treat these people. Because you're hardly going to go home and start quarreling with your housemate or your home members about how different you are. We are reminded about. I'll give you a quote from Ido Koyenikan that the pride of your country should not come after your country becomes great. Your country becomes great because of your pride in it. This is the feeling we are trying to evoke, that your country becomes great because of your pride in it. It is okay for us to be angry. It is okay for us to be disappointed after an election or after any political vibe, but this does not mean that you throw the baby out with the baby water because you're angry. It is important to remind everybody in Uganda that this is still our home, and this being our home, we want everybody to affirm that Ndimuna Uganda, I am Ugandan, and in everybody's language to affirm that. Now, once we affirm that, and we remember that this is home, slowly by slowly, we change the mindset, and it's when that mindset has changed that now we will get into changing, giving messages that will change their behavior, messages that will promote Ubuntu, messages that will now require them and remind them of what it is to be Ugandan. If you remind somebody that you're Ugandan, they have to first affirm that yes, I am Ugandan. So that is the basis, and that is the thinking behind the messaging of this is from Uganda.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Ndogo from Alcan Art Media. Thank you so much for that presentation. Like I said, it's just getting sweeter. Somebody summarized East Africa this way and said, Ugandans are those that love themselves but did not love the country. Kenyans are those love the country but did not love themselves. And Tanzanians love themselves and love the country. And we think the narrative can actually change. We can't get people that love ourselves and don't love our country. So it is good and important that if we love ourselves, then we need also to love our country. And I think just like Ndugu Akahiri said, this is an issue of national importance that we need. About 10 or so years ago, there was a campaign that was launched in the city here, and it was called Kampala City Young. Now that was intended to cultivate the spirit of loving the city, to keep it clean, to keep it tidy, by people owning it, but that campaign could have died somewhere. I just want to draw you that this campaign of this is my home, or this is home, Uganda Yange, it shouldn't die all the way. Somewhere like now talk about Kampala City Young, what if not know what it actually is. This should carry on and continue. Well, I want to thank you so much. We'll get to our next phase of the discussion here, and now we'll get into our panel discussions. I just want to think that all my panelists are actually here with me, and I'll take the opportunity now to welcome Dr. Maxime Hoinato, Dr. Maxime Hoinato, who is the UN President representative in Uganda since 2018 and was previously representing both the UN representative, the women representative in Mali. He's here with us and is going to talk about the role of civic education in influencing behavior and reinvigorating social values. You're very welcome, Dr. Maxime.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank the Excellency Rosa Malango, the UN boss in Uganda, and our host, colleagues from the UN that are here with us and also online, representatives of government. When we say government, I mean all branches of government, civil society, the media, and private sector. I have a couple of things on civic education that I'm not going to go back to, given what I've already heard in terms of the definition of civic education that we need to distinguish from political education or the type of civic education. Traditionally, civic education focused on how knowledge, skills at school level for people to grow up with the attitude that is desired. In recent years, we have, as my brother from NICE said, it has brought them to get into more than political spheres, to get to attitude in town, or even at home, community, etc., etc. In the particular situation of Uganda, which is, to be honest, not different from a lot of countries in Africa, where you have like a huge group in the community, a huge volume of young people in the community that more and more distance themselves from government. In many countries, you have mistrust between these young people and government. And the understanding of these young people of political and like civic management
will determine how they behave when there is mistrust. Because the people in government, and again, when we talk about government, people think about the executive branch of government. When even we all talk about the executive branch of government, people think about people in cabinets. Meanwhile, the administration is more than 80% of government, which is made up of all of us. Whether we are, PS somewhere, we are whatever in government. And then you leave the executive branch to the judiciary. From the judiciary, we get to the legislative branch. And from the legislative branch, you get to even media. People see media as talking governments and government in general. So when we are talking about trust, it's all powers in the country that young people need to feel close to, including traditional power, religious power. All of that contributes to people's trust in government and governance in the country. So we have to move from the concept of government to the concept of governance. When we talk about governance, you get into even economic governance. And people who are managing big corporations, taking economic decisions that affect the life of these young people, contribute to building the trust that we are talking about. One example that I like to take is the football team. And I like what the media people said earlier. Do you support your football team because it's winning? Or does your football team win because you support it? So that type of attitude and thinking around the relationship between the citizen and government and governance in the country has to be at the foundation of any civic education. I would like to, of course, you can't invite young women without expecting some kind of analysis, gender analysis in terms of how civic education is considered. In 15 countries in Africa, there's a civic education barometer, governance barometer that studies the differences between different considerations when we talk about civic education. And surprisingly, that study has not found any difference between men and women in terms of needs, values, and citizenship. Rather, differences were found in terms of geographical location, even age, because the need will be different in terms of age, but in terms of gender, it appears that what women need or what women feel in terms of value in the community is exactly the same or very close to what men. But the difference is how you reach both of them. That is fundamentally different. The level of education of one, the level of information of one, the freedom of one compared to the other makes a huge difference when it comes to the success of civic education in the country. The means through which a woman can be reached, brought into a conversation is different. The examples, the methodologies used will be different. That's why we will urge the leaders of NICE and this huge NICE campaign to consider how best, what are the characteristics of women in Uganda? What are the messages that women are sensitive to in the country that we need to take into account? Women forms the majority of this country, and any message that misses them will miss its point. So civic education should be contextualized to address the social, economic, and political conditions of Uganda for it to be relevant. It should be embedded in the Ugandan values. Rosa will talk to you about the meeting that she had with different communities in Uganda, the traditional leaders, where it was discussed the commonalities between different communities in Uganda in terms of our values. And the number of common values that they stated everything. Common values of good behavior, good thinking, and godly attitude in this country, from one corner to the other. Of course, you would say that it's all led up to the SDGs, as if our kings were in New York when we were developing the SDGs. But the fact is there that we are aligned, and this needs to be taken into account. Civic education program should be inclusive, taking into account age, gender, social dynamics of the country. It should be continuous, because what we have observed so far is like a discontinued attempt to bring in the citizen. And most of the time, it's so close to the elections that people get confused in terms of the aim of the campaign. If you do like a civic education program far from electoral processes, people now will understand that this is about the country. This is not about electing somebody or some people in power. That's why we recommend that for civic education to be value-based and value-centered, it has to be disconnected from political processes. There is a need for a clear collaboration mechanisms between the different stakeholders, including government, civil society, religious leaders, cultural institutions, etc. It is important that any civic education program is, as I said, depoliticized. Even if it's far from elections, it can also be politicized, like the color of the party or something like that, that will disconnect something.
And as I said about women, it is important to use the most effective medium of communication, accessible to all, regardless of class.
Education, etc. Let me conclude for the moment by saying that civic education is crucial in building any democratic society, and it is important that efforts is made to revive it and to support it in this country. Multi-stakeholder engagement are key to reviving any civic education program for it to be influential in the country. The diversity of Uganda should be its strength and not its disadvantage. Let me thank NICE for the initiative, the UN Resident Coordinator for hosting us, government, and again, all branches of government that are central and important for this program, civil society organizations, without which we are not going to succeed. And more importantly, I say the best for the last, which is the media. We have seen in the gender conversation in Uganda that the way the media treats a subject, deals with a subject, impacts on how citizens embrace that subject. We have seen it with how gender discrimination, rape, sexual assault are treated in the media, determines how the population position itself vis-a-vis these crimes. So we would like to invite the program to focus on media not just as means of transferring communication, but rather as on media as knowledge house. The media are not just a channel; they are also, and they can also be a source that will generate that knowledge. Because there is no media that should be neutral. We are not talking about neutrality when it comes to Uganda. We are talking about engagement and position. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Here from UN Women. It is getting engaging, and just like we told you earlier on, recognize the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education in Ghana, Mrs. Josephine Nkrumah, who is a chief guest. She'll be speaking to us much later. Remember, she's been online much earlier than all of us because of the time difference in Ghana where she is. But I'm also very happy to note that some are already following us here. Major General Basiko, the National Political Commissar, is following this conversation online. Thank you so much. The PS for Gender, Mr. Agre, PS for Gender, Mr. Agre Chirenge is also watching us. And following, we have representatives from the local government, specifically Mr. Imam, who's here, members of the government communicators forum, the Electoral Commission, the Executive Director of UCC, Madam Irene Sawan-Kambo. The UN family is also following us online. We want to recognize all of you members of the civil society. I want to also welcome this conversation from our Honorable Dr. Miriam Atembe, the chairperson of Civic Education, Coalition for Civic Education in Civic Electoral Democracy in Uganda. Sedu, we thank you so much, and of course members of the Youth Coalition for SDGs in Uganda, those and several other people following this conversation, and they are with us. So thank you so much. We'll take some of the comments because they're coming into the Honorable Lutamabuzi Semakula, the Member of Parliament for Nakaseke South Constituency in the 11th Parliament, is also watching and has sent a comment here which our parents will respond to after these discussions. Allow me now to invite Dr. Frank Mohereza to talk about the role of civic education in building national consciousness. Dr. Frank is the Executive Director of Center for Basic Research, and he's one man that has been there with his very vast experience. We request you now to speak to us, Dr. Frank Karibu, and the stage is yours now.
Thank you very much, moderator. Your Excellency, the head of UN in Uganda, the head of the National Initiative of Civic Education in Uganda, NICE Uganda, the representatives of government, UN agencies, civil society, all protocols observed. Mhereza Emmanuel Frank is my name. I'm the Executive Director Center for Basic Research. I come to here following our involvement with issues of civic education from 3 years ago. And we have been grappling with these issues as a research organization. Center for Basic Research is an academic NGO, one of the few that instead of focusing on service delivery, we also engage in knowledge generation and dissemination as well as engagement. And one of the areas where we thought we could engage is the question of civic education. Not necessarily in terms of activism, but generating information that could be useful for those who wish to engage. We have been working with civil society, but also with government agencies, as well as the general public. A Center for Basic Research, we created a platform. We created a platform for engagement with ideas. Our philosophy at Center for Basic Research is that we agree to disagree agreeably. We invite people with different ideas to come and put the ideas on the table, and we engage with the ideas and let the idea which is superior carry the day. We have invited people who don't agree with us. We have put on the same table people who come from government as well as the political opposition, and asked them not to abuse each other, not to throw words, but to engage with each other in terms of words. And the experience we've generated, Your Excellency, is that we love each other as Ugandans. But what we do not do is calling each other names and throwing stones at each other. But that's for another day. I was asked here to try and speak about the role of civic education in building a national consensus. I could spend the whole day trying to justify why civic education is important for national consensus. But let me begin by mentioning that we've just come through a very difficult election. at the national level, sub-county and parliamentary celebrate if they are because of the election. So because of the politics. That suggests that there are a number of things which needs to be done, which are not being done, that which require us to do in order for us to be able to move this to the next level. We know that part of building a national consensus has involved a national dialogue. There are many ways in which a national consensus can be built, but one of the ways in which we have all been toying with is a national dialogue. First attempts have not succeeded. Some of them have been very, very short-lived. Many have been boycotted because they do not like the one who is organizing it. And therefore, because of the one who is organizing it, who is behind it, many keep away, even when they would have benefited from it or the country would have benefited from it. They have not been well understood. You see, because the national dialogues we have been toying with have been commissioned, organized, arranged immediately before an election. We wait for 5 years and then an election is underway, then we start to think about having a national dialogue. And that's problematic. We think that the timing, the motives, the key players, if they are not clear, if they are not clarified, it becomes a problem. We even understand why we need national dialogue if it is the basis around which we build the national consensus. Most attempts at creating national consensus, by the way, it's not the consensus at the national level that's the most important. We need consensus at all levels because we have differences. We have ethnic differences, we have regional differences, we have, because of the climatic conditions and the impact that climate change is having on different geographical areas, the way in which we are affected by economic policies are completely different. We need to understand each other in terms of how best we can live as Ugandans, wherever we are. So to have an initiative around building a national consensus that is politicized and instrumentalized is a recipe for its failure. I like this theme of, this is my home. Uganda is my home. Nimna Uganda. There was some picture on the media which was circulating of an old Muzungu man with a t-shirt and saying, if you're stressed anywhere in the world, you come to Uganda. I think some of you might have seen it. I tried to look for it, I couldn't find it. For me, that is epic. On this day, when we are celebrating Heroes Day, there are heroes who are least spoken about. The person lives wherever he is in America, in Europe, and calls Uganda home. If you feel stressed anywhere in the world, go to Uganda. That person, by the virtue of putting on a t-shirt with that kind of message, it means he understands and values calling Uganda home. But who calls Uganda home? And why? If my father is a Ugandan by birth, therefore, I am entitled to be a Ugandan by also, but if I am born here. You can become a Ugandan by registration. You can call Uganda home because this is where you reside, this is where you work. So the question is, do you have to be a legal Ugandan in order for you to love Uganda? Not necessarily. Does it necessarily mean if you are Ugandan by birth, if you are Ugandan by descent, your great-great-grandfather was a Ugandan, and therefore you are Ugandan naturally, therefore you love Uganda because you are Ugandan by birth? Not necessarily. Many times we assume because I am Ugandan by birth, therefore I am expected to love Uganda. No, we have reached the point all along. Being a Ugandan is taught. It's something we learn. Teaching doesn't mean you go to school. No. I deal with cattle keepers. And you know the cattle keepers, when they don't like each other, they really hate each other. My area of specialization is Karamoja. There was a time when one ethnic group could not sit in the same rooms with another ethnic group because they lost their animals on the account of activities of the earth, which we call raiding. So they hit each other to death. You see, but that has been taught to their children. That so and so if a child is crying in the past, in the 90s in Karamoja, if they hated another ethnic group to the death, if they wanted to keep a child quiet, they would say, so and so is coming, so keep quiet. Which means we teach faith to our children. We start in our homes. When we go to school, we grow it. And when they begin to live a life of their own, they have already formed their minds that that person is a bad person. Being a Ugandan, to love Uganda has to be taught to people. In Greece, where democracy started, they teach democracy in their kindergartens. If they don't take it for a fact that the current democracy we practice originated from a city-state in Greece, they continue to teach democracy in their kindergartens. Uganda is the only country that does not have a systematic, a comprehensive, a long-term agenda around teaching people to love their country. We take it for granted. We have a beautiful climate, we have the sunshine, we have nice people everywhere you go. They say Ugandans are the most lovable. We love everything, but outside. You are first in Uganda when you meet a person abroad, and then Uganda secondly. And that is the problem because civic education has not come at the center of it. We need to bring back civic education. 3 years I have been doing research, engaging and speaking. We didn't know, I'm happy I was invited here. We didn't know we would even have an opportunity to speak at a forum like this. So look here, we have been speaking to ourselves about the importance of civic education. We do research on civic education. We do not understand the importance of civic education in building a national consensus. Starts in the home, in the church, in various places, in the ministries, everywhere we go. That's the message we need to be passing on to people. Patriotism or nationalism is something that we learn. It cannot be taken for granted. It is something we have for a very, very, very long time, taken for granted. We need to change the way we do things. National consensus needs to be something we have to talk about and say we are a country with differences. We are a country, we cannot say we all like each other. We can't even speak the same language. But that's not the problem. Our problem is that some people use these differences to take advantage of us. We need to start to teach and send a different message. You see, sometimes we think civic education for national consensus on stability should target the ordinary, the common Uganda. We are forgetting our leaders. It has to start at the top. Some of the things which our leaders say, they say, you do as I say, but don't do as I do. Say here something different. So they need civic education. It cannot be a one size fits all. We need to understand how to deliver civic education with a strategic message. It cannot be a business as usual, a one size fits all. We need to do a lot of research to understand how to reach out to these people. We need to understand how best to deliver it where. We're not going to deliver civic education to a kindergarten pupil without going through the teacher. We did research in 2019, comprehensive review of civic education in this country. And we realized the majority of, by the way, 40% of Ugandans have not been to school. So if you want to deliver civic education through schools, you're missing the point. The most difficult people are out there. They have not been to school. We realized that of all the channels through which interpretation is delivered, FM stations. Now you have people who are behind the microphones in FM stations who have no understanding about what interpretation is all about. And they are busy repeating some of the untruths, the half-truths they have picked up from some social media channel. And they are passing it on to people. Is it possible for us to start small, start from the obvious, start from which is easy, and then we go to the difficult questions? It is not a journey which we have to finish today. We have to start to speak about it. We will get there. If we agree that this is something we need to speak about, let's start with where we want to start, which is extremely important for us. Get all the FM stations. Talk to them and tell them this is the message you would like to deliver. They may deliver it, they may not, but they will not deliver that which they think is what they want to deliver. And when they know that there is a certain message which has to be delivered, the churches, mosques, social gatherings, cultural events. If you ask Salafadi Atawaka to deliver a certain message, if you ask the Omukama of Union, the Morimo, and deliver a certain message, that message would reach many people. It will be well appreciated. We have learned that civic education has to be a continuous process. The timing has to be right. Everybody has to come on board. You cannot leave behind anyone, and you need to package it in very simple messages. We cannot start to talk about national consensus without doing a strategic engagement on how that is going to be engaged with. And the only vehicle that can deliver it for you, civic education. Civic education can cover many things: civil liberties, rights, nationalism, patriotism, democracy, human rights, and many voter education. Depending on what we want to achieve, civic skills, civic consciousness, and civic disposition has to be a mandate for everybody. And I have views, very strong views, in terms of the challenges that we face. We need to learn. It doesn't mean school. It can be passive learning. It can be active learning. We need a curriculum. It cannot be just a curriculum in school. We have to get curriculum. We need platforms for engagement with diversities and all inclusiveness in order for us to start to talk about national consensus. It is possible. There is nothing impossible. We can achieve a national consensus, but we need to start over things where we don't have much difference. And then we can go for the difficult things once we have the places around it today. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Frank Mohes. I am personal and ardent and very religious follower of issues on the continent of Africa. During elections last year in Ghana, there was a presidential elections peace pact that was signed, and then Ndubuka here wrote something about it. I was responding to him, but I withdrew my response, and my response to him was actually just asking questions, because you notice that that particular presidential peace pact was mooted by two very significant persons. Sheikh Surubutu, the chief imam of Ghana, and the Asantehene of Ghana. And I ask here who our Sheikh Surubutu is, and who the Asantehene is, because these are two institutions, culture and religion, just like Dr. Frank has alluded to them. When Dr. Maxinia is speaking, he also let us know that Her Excellency has engagement with the cultural leaders, because it is very important when we talk about civic education that we need to engage and bring these on board. When Uganda was getting our independence in 1962, the national anthem that was sung is not the national anthem that was sung today of O Uganda, may God uphold thee. The first national anthem was saying, O Uganda, the people praise thee. And they just discovered that we can't run a country where we not have God in our midst. And so when we brought in God, we noticed that we have so much to do in as far as that is concerned. And so that's why when we involve church leaders, we involve the religious leaders and the cultural leaders, it actually gets easier and better. Let me take the opportunity now to invite Mrs. Shela Owido to I just want to know whether she mind. Could you be the one there? Very important. Now, she's a copywriter and a consulting with the Alcan Art. You're very welcome, Sister Wina.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I would like to say that I probably represent two minority groups here. Not minority groups, but this is what they're called, the young women of Uganda, but also I'd like to say still that I represent the millennials who have just gotten out of, say, campus, like myself. And I must agree with what Dr. Clark has been saying. The only civic education I have received information on, I must admit, and I'm sad that we have been in this place. The most that I have learned is from seeing what people have been doing and doing what we do. I think that is really, really telling, especially what Dr. Harris has been saying. And being a scientist, I would like to still quote one of the laws of physics, which is the second law of thermodynamics. If anything is left to itself, it just disintegrates. And one of the things that seems to have been left to itself a lot is civic education, especially in terms of leveraging the digital technologies that we have. We are currently living in the fourth industrial revolution. We actually may be at the tail of it. And I do not think that we have really seen as much of the technological advancements that have been going on here in Uganda. However, that does not mean that they are not influencing the way we as Ugandans are doing the different things that we do. So when I received the topic that I was asked to speak about, I thought of it in terms of a question. How can we exploit or influence digital technologies to promote an achievement of understanding and acceptance of our rights and responsibilities as citizens? Because like we have been told over and over again, civic education is more than just a political engagement. It is a socio-economic engagement. And quite a number of people, and the different statistics have been given here. But I'd also like to hint on a little something that has been called digital cooperation. And I'm not going to change the word because we have been told not to invent the words. Digital cooperation, because people are creating their own content now. We have, I mean, I am a content developer myself. And left to myself, I could easily tank a number of things in the country. And very many people are basing their opinions on other people's opinions, which are being put out on social media. And unless that narrative is shaped, not necessarily controlled, but shaped, we could still be leaving a lot to chance. Institutions are still transmitting norms and values, whether we know it, like it or not. Inadvertently, there are many things that are being taught, one of which has been referenced here, which is the hate-based violence, which is why I'm really appreciative of the campaign, This is Home. Because when we came earlier, last week I believe it was, I mentioned a fear of raising my children in this country because of the hate-based violence I have seen. And I know that a number of us share the sentiments because there is that level of fear that we have, not because we're not Ugandan, but because we do not know what we can do as Ugandans to improve our own nation. And like many people have written before, the democracy is made up of the people. The leaders and the led, the young and the old, the democracy is made up of the people. Until the people are empowered and engaged, it will be difficult to achieve what we want to achieve. But specifically, I'd just like to point out, for now, the social media globalization that has been happening, and this is what has caused the Western culture to spread a lot faster and further. We have over 2.8 billion users on Facebook, 1 million in Instagram, and 1 billion in Instagram, and 2 billion on WhatsApp, which is telling. That is for the world. And for the approximately 47 Ugandans, we have about 3 million, yes, on social media, but over 60% are currently using mobile phones. So that would mean that, like Dr. Frank Mujereza has pointed out, if someone who is in a position of influence posts something on social media, and the radio presenter or the TV presenter or whoever it may be, a person in authority takes it on, that is what is going to be carried forward. So it's important for us, and I'm glad that we have this campaign now, for us to engage the social media platforms that we have to shape the narrative and control the expectations, I would say, because this is just what I'll wrap up with. What I have seen and I have experienced as a young Ugandan is we expect a democracy to be a utopia, but it cannot be. Nothing that is involving human beings can be straight cut, because we as humans are very dynamic and diverse people. So it's also important for us to manage the expectations of the people with regards to what we know as a democracy, political, socio-economic, and whatever it is. And it's very important for us to know the digital technologies and embrace them, not run away from them, because the farther we run away from them, the longer it's going to take for us to engage. And like I mentioned earlier, if we leave anything to chance, most likely it will be leading to disintegration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Owino. We really thank you so much for your submission. Those following us have issues in here. Those that are coming in, somebody is asking here, how will civic education initiative trickle down to the question where it's needed most in terms of promoting good governance and democratization? Such nice initiatives have always ended up in Kampala boardrooms to benefit the elites of Uganda. The Honorable Ruta Maguzi Semakola Paulson Kasana, the Member of Parliament, just says, tell the team that we love the conversation, but when will they start to walk the talk besides speaking English? What they say is at times very different from what they practice. What went wrong that we need to fix right now? That's coming from a Member of Parliament, and so we'll get to see how to get them. We have our next panelist here, who is a youth panelist, Irina Kong, joining us by Zoom from Gulu. She's a certified TOT, working under the We Take a Peace and Development Initiative since 2017. Sister Akong from Gulu, if you are on Zoom and ready, we need to have you remember it's Day. We need to wind up the conversation here because many of the people here they're supposed to be at Kololo and they need to get there before the president arrives. Can we have the Akong if you're ready with us? IT.
Allow me recognize the presence of every dignitary present, the panelists, and whoever is following through online. I'm so glad to participate in this forum. Uganda, this is home. So ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I hope people are hearing me.
Yes,
participate in this. My name is Oti at the We Take a Peace and Development Initiative, Uganda, Gulu in particular. Yes, my submission is on the roles of youth in promoting civic education. You see, most times young people waste a lot of energy in powerlessness, boredom, and so many other non-constructive activities. And yet, forgetting that they have got a lot of responsibilities as citizens in the societies that they live in. So I, as a Congo Irene, I am so glad and privileged that I was empowered by You Take a Peace and Development Initiative. And through these empowerments, my mind's changed. I now see life positively as a Ugandan. And the empowerments that they took me through, I am also going ahead, still through their support. I'm still going ahead, replicating the same thing to the community that I live in. So right now, the activities that are being done through the support, the We Take a Foundation, are dialogues in the various communities on post-election violence. In doing that, we believe that people's minds would change They would not view each other as enemies, as people that they should not live with.
Irene?
Yes, yes.
Yes, carry on, we can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I was still talking about dialogues that we always conduct in the communities. Not only in the communities, we also do this through a lot of platforms, even on radio, on the post-election violence circumstances. We also go ahead and do sensitizations in the communities, among the youth, among elders, among women, on their roles in making decisions via votes, while also observing their rights as citizens of Uganda. We do not end at that. We also do community trainings. And in these community trainings on conflict resolution education, we target the leaders in our communities, the LCs, the teachers in schools, the leaderships in schools, because there's this saying that a fish begins getting rotten from the head. Once the head gets rotten, you are sure that the whole body. So we are looking at leaders, and we know that as we train these leaders, at the end of the day, we are securing this later on generation to come. So we believe in doing this, there are a lot of positive impacts that would always come in the youth, not only the youth, even the children to come. What do this comes about? Their leadership skills would sharpen as we do community dialogues, as we do conflict resolution education. Not only that, they become agents of change in their communities, because we believe this civic education is not only political, it is also in our social lives as we live in our community. So as we are doing this, as we are not only targeting only the political leaders, we would also look at these youth leaders. And we know as we are doing this, we are preserving the future generation to come. And when we teach the present people on the importance
Irene, okay. Well, I think Irene did blocking just right there, but we thank you so much, Irene. You're putting forth your presentation information, and we see you have understood you as a young person, very good and coming to us on Zoom, which I think is very important. When Dr. Frank was speaking to us and saying, many people say you cannot teach patriotism. And of course, that has also been a long discussion among ourselves. How we teach people to love their country, but I think it's important that people can actually be taught to do this. We know so many countries that do what they call national service. And one of the things that they do in national service is actually to teach the people to do that. One author, an essayist, an American man, once said, and I'll quote him, Edward Abbey, he once said, a patriot must be one who is always ready to defend his country against his government. So there are times when you need to defend your country against your own government, and that is what we call patriotism. I now want to invite to this conversation our the chief guest, Mrs. Josephine Groma, the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education in Ghana, who we earlier on said has been with us here. Now, Ms. Josephine Groma is a Ghanaian lawyer who currently serves as the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education. She was appointed in 2015 by John Dramani Mahama, and later promoted to chairperson of the same commission by John Mahama. We'll now take the opportunity to invite her as a guest of honor to speak to us. And we now come to you on Zoom in Ghana, Mrs. Josephine Groma. You're welcome.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
you. Very well.
Good morning from
I'd like to adopt existing. Sorry?
Good morning from Kampala. Go ahead and speak to us. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And permit me to adopt the existing protocols and just say good morning to our distinguished panelists. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I'd like to express my gratitude to the NICE Uganda for the honor and opportunity to speak to this eminent audience. I bring you warm felicitations from the National Commission for Civic Education in Ghana, NCCE being our acronym. We are an independent constitutional body mandated to educate the citizens of Ghana on their civic rights and responsibilities to sustain democracy and national development per the tenets of our 1992 Constitution. NCC has been in existence for 28 years, and it is pertinent to note that under the Ghanaian Constitution, the creating article of the Commission is an entrenched one, and therefore any attempt to alter or amend the existence of the Commission is one that can only be achieved by a national referendum. Equally important for us is the fact that our commission is independent and as stipulated by Article 234, which states that except as otherwise provided in this Constitution or in any law which is not inconsistent with the Constitution, the Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any person or authority in the performance of its functions. Indeed, so sacrosanct did our lawmakers consider civic education that they ensured that it was insulated from partisanship or from government intrusions to the benefit of any particular political party. And indeed, that has been the beauty of civic education in Ghana, albeit it has also come with its own challenges. Whilst drawing strength from our independence, this same strength sometimes weakens our hands as no ministry speaks or advocates on our behalf for critical funding. I'll come again to that subject briefly in my concluding remarks, but I read the topic for today's discussion, and I said to myself, how really do we express a citizen-centered approach to nation building through the vehicle of civic education? For me personally, and in my work over the last few years, I hold the firm conviction that every country needs an educated and engaged citizenry, a citizenry that reflects the sovereign will of its people to drive development, to drive peace, prosperity, equality, justice, rule of law, respect for human rights, amongst other noble virtues of any developed nation. It is a prerequisite for the citizenry to be actively engaged and motivated towards nation building, and governments will only be as responsive as civic-minded citizens demand from them. Essentially, there must be a crucial connection between an active citizenry and a responsive government where hearts and minds beat as one in determining the trajectory of national growth and development. The spirit of citizenship lies, for me, in three cardinal pillars for civic education. The first is civic knowledge, where citizens understand the workings of the governance system and equally understand their political as well as civic rights and responsibilities. The second cardinal pillar is the civic skills, where the citizen has the ability to analyze, evaluate, take and defend positions of public issues, on public issues and of public interest, and use the civic knowledge acquired to participate in the civic and political process and discourse. Civic disposition being the third cardinal pillar are traits necessary for any democracy, and they must include patriotism, tolerance, critical mindedness, willingness to accommodate divergent views, to negotiate, compromise, and an ability for peace building. These cardinal pillars must be imbibed in the citizenry through education to ensure active citizenship underpinned by national cohesion. Without this cohesion, civic education largely would be ineffective. It is therefore gratifying to note that the NICE Uganda is underscoring the importance of unity in its Uganda, This is Home campaign. I think one can never really appreciate the essence of peace and unity if you have not passed through a certain level of division that has caused great turmoil and retrogression. Whilst Uganda has had its fair share of internal struggles driven by overt perceptions of differences, be it tribal, political, or religious, I believe that this has catapulted Uganda into a renewed sense of urgency towards nation building. For Uganda, this is a new dawn, and we must be intentional and deliberate about driving sustained civic education to reignite the flames of patriotism, peace, unity, and accountability. Indeed, some of these have a commonality with the 4 values of the NICE Uganda campaign. This really is a time for serious business. It is about accountability at all levels. Leaders must be accountable, whether you're political, religious, institutional, both in the private and the public sector. Accountability from parents, teachers, workers, employees or self-employed, traders, artists, artisans, sportsmen, and women. We as Ugandans must be accountable for our stewardship as citizens who have a duty not only to ourselves, but equally to our forebears and posterity. It is accountability to our nation, Uganda, and its vast natural resources. It is accountability to Africa as a cohesive whole, where our national pursuits and actions have a bearing on the larger African continent and its impact globally. This sense of accountability would lead to eschewing vices of society by the citizenry that does not stimulate national growth, patriotism, national cohesion, and positive attitudinal behavior. Our greatest asset as a nation is our mindset. Our greatest tool in the collective pursuit of any worthy national goal or development. And also, our mindset is a weapon in the face of any adversity. Therefore, effective civic education must engender this civic mindset for accelerated development. When we have a robust and sustained civic education program, we certainly as Ugandans will help reap the dividend by inspired citizenship. Indeed, let us also celebrate the diversity of Uganda, for it is indeed the drawstring of our uniqueness, our oneness, our Ubuntu. Finally, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I return to the subject matter of funding. Indeed, civic education is the oil that turns the wheel of national development and stability. Civic education is an expensive venture. This is the reality. But like oil drilling is a capital intensive venture, which also yields real and high return on investment, so is civic education. So I urge you to be innovative, versatile, and dynamic, to be responsive to the needs and aspirations of Ugandans. Invest in civic education to reap the real dividend of national cohesion, sustainable democracy, development, peace and security, and economic empowerment. Please accept that the expectations from the citizenry would be almost burdensome. Please accept also, embrace these expectations, leverage on institutional collaboration, and remember, all Ugandans as are your strongest allies and partners. After all, it is about Ugandans. Therefore, the women, the elderly, the youth, the young children, who are all change agents, traditional authorities, faith-based organizations, civil society organizations, artisanal groupings, should all be embraced and targeted in this multifaceted program. For you to reach them, therefore, civic education must be decentralized and it must cascade to all facets of society and to all actors in the governance space. On behalf of the National Commission for Civic Education, we pledge our continued support to the NICE Uganda by sharing not only the best practices, but also our mistakes and our weaknesses in order to build a strong NICE Uganda. I believe with the firmest of convictions that the key to Africa's rising is civic education. And I look forward to seeing this accelerated, where African nations embrace civic education as the key to realizing our fullest potential. As Uganda charts this path of inspired citizenship through civic education as a major tool, on behalf of the National Commission for Civic Education, I pray that success crowns all your endeavors for the peace and prosperity of a greater Uganda. I salute you and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Josephine Jasoja, for those very good remarks. We really appreciate and thank you so much. I've endeavored to talk to young persons in Uganda, telling them that yes, we can be far politically, we can be far religiously, we can be far on several things, but we cannot be far on Uganda. Not all Ghanaians are subscribed to the NPP, the ruling party, and not all of them belong to the NDC of John Dramani Mahama, but all of them remember that they are Ghanaians. And then so when issues come, and it is Ghana, then Ghana has to come first. It's okay to have these diversities, but also remember that we are Ugandans. Earlier on, I saw some hands on Zoom here, and we just want to appreciate all those who are following us, the participants on Zoom. It's indeed very important. From Josephine's submission there, she made something very important and critical here of the entrenchment article that establishes their national commission for civic education. Now that is indeed very, very important that it's actually permanent in there. Whether it's Josephine today or another person some other day, they will still come and find this. When the Commissioner Peter here was speaking to us, when he talked about the parish model, that's going to take on close to 260 billion Uganda shillings. And we think that all that money, as long as people are not civically educated, we might have so much resource and doing nothing and really nothing. I'm just happy that we're managing our time and we've actually brought this to some very conclusion here that to thank everybody. But I will request that Ndugu Bakari Kuya here says something before I invite Her Excellency Rosa Malango, who shall also give us the closing remarks as we again run out of here to Kololo for Heroes Day today. Ndugu JJ.
Thank you very much, moderator. I want to thank all the participants in this very important dialogue, in here and out there. I want to thank the participants from Ghana. Thank you very much for your very, very passionate words and of encouragement. And as a country, Uganda, this is the direction where we are going. We have got many articles that are entrenched in our constitution. That's why I remind you about Article 8A, which is talking about national interest and the common good to guide all systems of governance. So as Ugandans, we are now, we need to remind ourselves that our core center is there. And also as the country, we have established many programs which are tell us what's happening up political education and civic education. One of them is the patriotic clubs within schools, which are now moving from the secondary schools, which were planning to cascade up the lowest level. But nonetheless, it is needed to that now Parliament must take the lead.
You also need to take Frank's advice. 40% of these are not in schools. You need to know that.
That's why I'm talking about it, that now Parliament, now we must take this opportunity to establish the enabling law as directed by the Article 17 of our Constitution, which is going to establish the national service by law so that you can now cascade down, you can go outside there to accommodate all those youth and those elder people outside the school system, outside the governance systems. And indeed, I'm happy to inform that the process of establishing the national service program in Uganda is underway. So I hope institutions, the women agenda, the youth agenda, they must play a role. But somebody should be opening God that now this is where to go. As Minister of Information and National Guidance, ICT and National Guidance, we have got a lot of windows through the media. Everywhere now we are having radios and TVs. And good enough as a corporate responsibility, all these media houses are giving airtime to the public, to the all actors, to go and push the message outside there. So I urge NICE and other actors, Dr. Frank, who have worked very well with our ministry and other actors outside there, to go and use this space. And on addition to that one, as a ministry, we have started a program of sensitizing all those actors from within government, and we are hoping to go outside there also from outside government, the government communicators. We took some of them to the National Institute, where we have tried to concentrate them around the national ideology, and we hope that we shall cascade down to the districts and also involve all actors so that now we can talk the same language and talk the same path of national development and using civic education as one of the windows towards achieving our national objective. And I want to thank the convener, Mama Malongo. Please, thank you very much. As the saying goes, please don't stop there, but continue in that direction wherever you are. Uganda is our hope. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ndugu JJ, Commissioner JJ Bakari Kuya from the Minister of ICT in charge of national guidance. Thank you so much for that remark. Just before Your Excellency comes in, Ndugu Major General Masiko is online. Just 1 minute, if we can hear from you, General Masiko, the National Political Officer. Please come in very shortly before Her Excellency makes the conclusive remarks.
Thank you, everyone. I hope I'm being heard. Am I clear?
Yes, you are.
I want to congratulate the conveners of this important discussion. Indeed, I am excited that not only are we making efforts at the national level, but from the global perspective, UN also recognizes that the population, the citizens ought to be empowered in a due form. While they enjoy their freedoms, they should know their rights. But the most important aspect is for them to know that the country is on their shoulders. They need to be empowered to value playing their roles and responsibilities, to be proud of participating in nation building. And our constitution is empowering in that direction. And as Commissioner Bakari Kwira has indicated, all now that is required is translating the constitutional intention into an enabling legislation, but also having this program come into the list of priorities, because as Mankuruma did indicate, it's a costly venture, but it's an imperative. We have no alternative but to reach out to the citizens, to empower them, first of all, to know that there are those things citizens must embrace as citizens, as nation builders, and have it ingrained in their value system. So I want to congratulate the organizers. I'm sorry I didn't come in earlier because of other obligations, but I think this is the beginning, and we would like you to support the national efforts. The President's Office through the National Secretary for Patriotic Clubs, and also moving ahead as we move towards embracing the National Youth Service. Congratulations, the organizers, and we look forward to the continued dialogue in this direction. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Masiko. Really, thank you so much for being very audible, very clear, and we thank you that your presentation has come through to us. Just before we end, because I think run out, we will stop this in the next few minutes. Questions coming in here, I'll just read them. Can you video and find the platform that will engage and then see how to respond? Somebody is saying, how does a nice Uganda initiative space intended to resolve the weakening relations between CSOs and the government of Uganda? The relationship between CSOs and the government of Uganda. How does this intend to resolve that? Nice Uganda should also involve and engage national and regional best CSO networks or forums to reach out to the communities in the country. It will be effective. We manage all of you, I think, after this dialogue, NICE should be able to share with us the details of the strategies and the stakeholders that they plan to work with to make this effective. We can also critique and share our ideas after we have had the details. So some can critique until they get the details. And somebody has said, thank you so much, Mrs. Nkrumah, and all the panelists here. The local government sector aspires to create a competent civic population that is critical in the socio-economic transformation agenda of Uganda. And as such, the Ministry of Local Government is doing everything possible to induct the new leadership at all levels, as well as mobilizing communities through raising their consciousness, rights, and obligations in the transformation agenda. Ministry of Local Government, because I think these are the implementers of the parish development model that Ndugu Wakarikira talked about here. Let me welcome you, Your Excellency Rosa Malango, to give us your closing remarks, because our time is running out and we need to get ready for Apollo. Welcome.
Thank you very much, moderator, and thank you so much to the participants. Three messages from me. The first one is to say the sense of just being amazed and listening to what I've heard today. In 2016, when I asked which were the top risks for Uganda's stability and development, 80% of the persons that I spoke to told me the lack of civic education. And then when I asked them, so how can we do it? Don't touch it. Don't say civic education. You can't do civic education in Uganda.
No-go area.
You're going to be blacklisted. It's no-go area. So I was astonished that a country so rich in diversity with such a great sense of civil service, actually even at international level, didn't want to touch. What's the definition of your soul? This is about the soul of this nation. So it's not optional. You need to find a way to define your soul, and your soul will evolve depending on what's happening in the global and regional spheres. So with that commitment, I endure. And I want to really use this opportunity to reiterate something that the chairman and I mentioned at the beginning. This is the beginning of the journey. This is not a sprint, this is a marathon. And everybody needs to start looking at who else should be doing something, because everyone has to do something. This is an individual responsibility with collective impact. This is what you're teaching your children. What does it mean to be Uganda? You know, when we see you outside and inside, what do you stand for? What is a no-go area? What is your brand as an individual, as a community, and as a nation? So that cannot be the responsibility of one segment. That is everyone's responsibility. Which brings me to the third point. Please do not see Nice Uganda as this private sector entity that's supposed to be producing something. It is a safe space for everyone to contribute. During the past 2 years from the launch, we identified more than 16 government institutions that are working on civic education without knowing it. We identified more than 50 initiatives on civic education for civil society that didn't know each other. By the time we start speaking to the private sector, we stop working. So there's so much going on, but there's no impact because there's no coherence and there's no coordination. Nice Uganda is the coordination space. It is done by Ugandans for Ugandans. So please, you have a contribution, bring it on and let's make it happen. I believe that now that the campaign has been launched, a couple of things are going to be critical. One is to have regional dialogues. We discussed it, we need to take it out to the regions. And that is where the radios, the cultural leaders, the influencers have a very important role to play. Because the concerns that I heard in Karamoja are not the ones I heard in West Nile, another ones I heard in Port Poto, another ones I heard in Sinjiro. Each region has a different issue. So you will have to create that space to find out what are the issues of the region and then what is common to the entire nation. You also need to embrace your diversity. And I've said this in a lot of the private forums, and I'm going to say it today publicly. It should be absolutely fine to say, I'm an Acholi Uganda, I'm a Buganda Uganda, I'm a Bunyoro Uganda. That's just a contribution to Ugandanness. It should not take away, it should actually enhance and enrich. And because it's inclusive, it means that you have to work with the security forces, you have to work with the private sector, you have to work with academia, you have to work with the farmers, with everyone. So ladies and gentlemen, it has been an incredible journey for the past couple of years. We are confident that having heard the journey of a sister African nation in Ghana, Uganda will be able to learn from their lessons and figure out how to have a permanent space that is owned and supported by Ugandans to define what it means to be ready. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We really want to appreciate you and thank you, everybody. Finally, for me to do JJ Bakalipiya, because I know that you sit at the program of communication in this country. We all agree that we have so many radio stations in the country, so many TV stations in the country, and I think you need to up again in giving these radio stations and TV stations as influencers the right information to speak to the people, because we talk about very pertinent and critical issues here that should be said rightly in the best way and in the interest of Uganda. We need to promote Uganda more than tribal extractions or political extractions or anything. We should be Uganda We should promote Uganda, and of course, like we say, it is this is home. It is home indeed, and we need to get there. So I very much want to thank all of you. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for hosting us here and for allowing us to be a very good stage for us to talk about these very pertinent issues and very pertinent things. Thank you so much, our guest of honor, Mrs. Josephine Nkrumah from Ghana. You've endured and been there for all these hours, and thank you so much that even when you came to speak, your presentation came through clearly, and we had you audibly, and we really understood what you said. And everybody who has been participating, those who have been on Zoom, and everybody here, and those watching us on a different TV platforms, on BBC TV, on NBS, and the other platforms that you've been. I also want to take the opportunity to thank you for having allowed me to moderate and to be here today. My name is Yagi Nasemakola Zikusoka, wishing you all the best and wishing you a very happy Heroes Day today as we get to Kololo, over in my country, as we all now embrace Uganda as home. Stay blessed and God bless all of you. Good morning.
for rescues and areas, both in the country and the work.